Welcome to Residential Tech Talks. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, Executive Editor of Residential Tech Today. On this week's podcast, Mark DiPietro joins us from the Charlotte area in Mooresville, North Carolina, where he is CEO and managing partner of the home tech integration firm SoundVision. Mark has been involved in the consumer electronics business since the late 80s. Starting in car stereo, he was a product specialist for Kenwood, a manufacturer's rep for multiple lines in multiple states, before starting his own business. With SoundVision, he is responsible for day-to-day operations as well as financially overseeing the company. In a recent article at restechtoday.com, we wrote about SoundVision's new 3,000 square foot technology showroom and its backbone enterprise-grade network that ensures reliability for the Wi-Fi connected control system, remotes, TVs, lighting, surveillance cameras, doorbells, window shades, all the fun tech gear that we talk about on this podcast. It also has a really cool, top-notch podcast studio. And that might have been the very reason why I reached out to Mark initially, because I thought, this guy has a podcast studio. We need to have him on the podcast. Mark DiPietro, thanks for joining us today on your podcast studio.
Oh, thanks, Jeremy. And actually, I guess we're done. You just did everything.
That's it. I got, I covered the whole thing, and we've got the studio. Yeah, so cool setup there. Good acoustics. We've got a guest who's not in an echoey room. I think
it is not echoey.
Yeah, this is a nice start and a rarity. So I really, we did the little article. You have a lot of Snap One gear, Control 4 type stuff in there. That company does love to support a new showroom project. How did your new showroom come together? Was this something that's been in the works for a while?
And first, Jeremy, thanks for having me. Really
Sure
appreciate the opportunity. It has been for a very long time. The backstory, I'll keep it short, but the backstory is we started in my apartment back in 2010, and I had a business before then, and there's some good stories about how that was lost and that's started over, but literally started in an apartment, and one of the extra bedrooms was my warehouse. And then my wife and I bought a foreclosure, and we moved into that, and the business was in this little 1,800 square foot house, and it was in part of the garage. And we bought a bigger house, and it was still in the garage. And then moved to a space of about 2,000 square feet that was 10 people and warehouse. We were bulging at the side. So when we got the opportunity to move into this space about a year and a half ago, we like the term experience center, and we use that term specifically because it's really designed about possibilities. It's really here to sort of show what can be done and what things are out there that maybe people don't know about, whether that's lighting fixtures or shading opportunities, or you mentioned enterprise grade networks. We have a theater, all that kind of stuff that people come in and they go, wow, I didn't even know this really existed. So.
Well, and so tell us a little bit about the area that you're in. You're in Charlotte, but you're specifically, it looks like in the Lake Norman area.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, that's right.
So I'm not that familiar, other than I saw that in something that was posted about you, and I wanted to know what that meant, and I looked it up, and it looks beautiful. Nice lake community. So
yeah,
other than that,
right.
Is it a pretty nice, affluent kind of community where you've got a lot of your clients?
So we're actually about 35 minutes north of Charlotte.
Okay.
And the majority of our business is not in Charlotte. We do go down there, of course, for clients. But the Lake Norman area is, if you're a NASCAR fan, Mooresville is very well known. It's where a lot of the NASCAR teams are. If you're not a NASCAR fan, you probably never heard of us. But Lake Norman is a beautiful area. It encompasses Huntersville and Davidson. You might know about Davidson College. They were just in the NCAA tournament. That's Davidson College. Mm-hmm. Cornelius and Mooresville is the kind of the crux of it. And then there's the other side of the lake as well. But yeah, so that's where we are, about 35 minutes north of Charlotte.
And prior to this showroom, you didn't really have an experience center space. You just kind of had to take a potential client maybe to a willing prior client to show what looks what things look like? Or?
We did that for years, Jeremy. We had a number of clients and we've always had this sort of gift um, mentality with customers. So at the end of projects, we've been giving gifts for years, and if you want to go into that, we can. But
Sure.
so one of the ways that started was showing theaters or systems that were similar to clients that we were working with folks that we already had worked with, testimonials, if you will. And so we did that a lot. And then, as I'm sure a lot of smaller integrators do, we outfitted my home. And so we had various systems. I had a full Savant system at one time, then Control 4, and we would show new technologies in there because I was a geek, and I would go in and mess around and do whatever, and we would bring people that way as well. But this is much better. This is much better.
Yeah. So I guess you could take us through a little bit of the space, and then we can start talking kind of your career path. But 3,000 square feet, and you definitely have that entertainment space I saw in there. It looks like a theater. And can you just kind of walk us through what it's like as you come through the door, and then the different rooms?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So when you come in, it's a rather traditional living room on one side. And in that space, we show a number of different systems. We show like a frame TV with a sound bar, so kind of a simple sound bar and a simple system. And then we have a 5.1 system that we can switch on there. We also have some high-end 2-channel audio in that space. So we're both B&W and Martin Logan dealers as well. So we show some high-end audio in that space. Right next to it, we've got a space that is really cool. It's looks like you're walking out on your lanai or on your deck. And we actually went to a customer's home, and we had a professional photographer take shots, and it was 140 pictures stitched together to make this mural on the wall that is literally overlooking his pool and then the dock and then the lake. So it looks like you're standing looking at the lake. And we show a bunch of different outdoor options, whether that's audio and video, as well as lighting. So every fixture in our facility is, with the exception of a few decorative fixtures, are not only controlled by us, but also they're designed specifically to take into consideration color, temperature, and whatnot. So so that's the front. If I don't know if you want to pause there, but I can keep going.
Yeah, no. Let me, before we move on to the other parts. So lighting. It's a category that I ask everyone about on the podcast, and some folks are farther along than others. How long have you been doing lighting fixtures?
We floundered. We've been doing it, I would say, 3 years.
Okay.
But I would also say for a year and a half to 2 of those 3 years, we really floundered in it. We tried, we failed, we did different things. We're trying to learn exactly how it worked and how to sell it and how to pitch it to folks to be successful, how to get in that other budget category. It's not the audio video, but it has nothing to do with the audio video budget. And it took a long time. This calendar year, this 12-month year, have really done a lot with it. It's exploded.
What was the breakthrough?
We had 3 projects that we thought we were going to get, and we didn't get any of them. And I think it was really the skinning the knees and just learning how to talk to builders, how to talk to the electricians, how to get the customers involved. The breakthrough was getting the first one, but I think it was really the 3 that we didn't get. We had worked with David Warfel at Light Can Help You, and I don't know how well you know David. And
I know him well, and he's a very. I know you're a ProSource member, so that probably is your connection there. I've been to several of his sessions, and I know his company has just been great as far as embracing the CI channel and being a lighting designer by trade. I went to the lighting. The Lightapalooza event that was technically an HTS, started as an HTSA thing, but it opened to everybody. So there was a blend of folks there, but he was at that as well. And just an easy guy to listen to. Seems like a really good advisor on this stuff.
Well, David and Mark have been very instrumental, and they're good friends now. And I hope he doesn't mind me saying, he's learned also. So in those 3 presentations, it was kind of back when he was still starting with ProSource and starting to learn how to talk to, builder, because it was new to him too, really. Not the lighting
Oh yeah.
design part, but the whole sale of it, from our point of view. And
Yeah.
so I think we helped each other a little bit on those. But now the enormous part of the breakthrough, because you asked what the breakthrough was,
Yeah.
the enormous part of the breakthrough is this experience center, because when people come in and see it, it's kind of like when you are talking about lighting control, which we've all done for years and years and years, and you tell them scenes,
Yeah.
and you know what a scene is, and it's the entertain scene, it's the cooking scene, it's the bedtime scene, whatever scene it is. They don't really get what a scene is. And then when you show them what a scene is, and you show them one button replaces those 6 or 8, switches that are in the kitchen that you've lived in the house for 10 years, you still don't know what the third switch does, right? You just turn them all on,
Hmm.
and you show them, hey, not only do you have certain lights coming on at certain times at different intensities at different speeds, but now you can show different color too, different color temperatures. So that's the control part of it, right? Well, now, when you actually see whether it's a warm dim, or whether you show them, hey, what is the difference in 3000 Kelvin versus 1800? And what is it like to be in the middle of the day and have task lighting versus at night when you want it warmer and more comfortable? Man, when people see that, they go, oh, I totally get it. It's an aha moment.
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of breakthrough.
Right. And I know from the standpoint of the custom integrator, why the why, as we talk about in things these
Sure.
days, it's part of it is just the who knows what's going to happen with entertainment technology in the home, and the commodification of it, the DIY aspect of it.
Great word.
To have like a thing that is more sort of stable. It's a structural thing. It's part of the building process, this lighting category. But it also, lighting control is still a very strong category, but with LED lighting, you're having difficult, communication between the dimming and the actual fixture. So to be able to control that whole category without having
Yeah, that's right.
inconsistencies and flicker and things like that. So that makes sense from your standpoint. From the client standpoint, it is about performance and telling them, hey, there's all this way to make your home just more comfortable, because the incandescent lights aren't there anymore. They're not going to be warm. They're, unless you do extra work to get better technology in there, you're going to feel like you're an operating room or something like that sometimes, or just blue.
Well, and
Or
the success sort of breeds success too. So when you've sold one, and you actually put it in and you see how it works, and then you have some clients and they come in and they see how this works. Then when you go and you're sitting with a builder, we just did this last week. We were sitting with a builder and we had an architect in the meeting, just coincidentally. And the builder was actually the customer actually brought up some different lighting design, and the builder was talking and literally did not know what they were talking about. They were just saying the wrong things. And so our team is kind of sitting there, sort of biding their time, and said, we do this, and we can kind of show you. If you come to our experience center, we can show this to you. And by the way, Mr. Architect, we do the design for you. Like, we'll help you put the design so that you can provide it to your customers. We've even gone as far as to say, because of this whole category, not only lighting design, but also shades falls into this too. And you could do even security could fall into it as well. But we could actually go on a job where we don't do any audio video. There's a whole nother AV integrator there. We're doing the lighting design or the shades, for somebody. We're a palladium lutron dealer, which is not the common thing.
yeah.
So maybe someone needs the higher grade of shades, and that's all we do.
Hmm.
We're cool with that. Like, that's all right.
Yeah. Now, one of the hiccups or the concerns was what about the electrician who has a certain dollar amount that they're going to get out of putting holes in the ceiling and wiring everything up. So I know the argument on how, or the discussion of how that can be broached and equitable for everyone involved. But how have you experienced that electrical side of things, as far as where do they get their feathers ruffled with you doing lighting? at this point?
So, Jeremy, we've had successes and failures with it.
Okay.
We've had actually big ones of both. And what we find, and I just have this as sort of a general philosophy, that proactive is much better than reactive. And so we've partnered with some electricians that we know are progressive enough. They don't necessarily want to get into fixture sales per se. I mean, I know they are selling cans and that sort of thing, but they don't want to get into fixture sales, but they understand the benefit of it. And we've told them how we're going to support them. We do a lot of documentation. We do the drawings, we do the takeoffs, we basically give them all the skins on exactly what they need to do, so to make it as plug and play as possible. And then we're there in all the meetings. So they're not on their own. Now, in some cases, guys are like, no, I'm not going to do that. Or they throw out a real high number, kind of the whatever factor you want to call it, the pain in the butt factor for them to do it. And again, we've had that. But when we've had success and we've done one, then all of a sudden, again, it becomes easier, because the next time the electrician's like, hey, these guys aren't going to leave me out in a lurch. They're actually going to be there. We've actually even taken some of our good electricians and brought them to some of the builders as well, and married those guys together and said, look, here's a quality electrician that does really high quality work. Oh, and by the way, if your customer wants to put in $40,000 in fixture instead of $4, oh, and you're marking that up, by the way, this guy is really, will work with us to do that. So we try to make it win-win-win for everybody.
Well, we will continue our conversation with Mark DiPietro after the break.
Do you want superior smart home automation at a great value? Shelly Wi-Fi relays by Alterco Robotics cover DC to line voltage, allowing you to control lights, outlets, appliances, garage doors, pumps, and much more. There are Shelly sensors and power measurement devices to help you measure temperature, humidity, lux, or motion, and electrical consumption from single wire to 3-phase with neutral. You can use Shelly with a licensed driver for Control 4, Elon, or other premium systems, as well as your customer's existing hub, voice assistant, or any platform that accepts REST, MQTT, or CoAP. Shelly can make IoT very easy. Available now at Blackwire, City Electric Supply, and Worthington, or at shellyusa.com.
Welcome back. We're talking with Mark DiPietro, CEO and managing partner at SoundVision in Mooresville, North Carolina. Mark, we were talking lighting. I do want to continue our virtual tour through your showroom. So moving on from the lighting fixture category and out of the front of the showroom, what would we go into next?
Yeah, so we have, I guess maybe I should be walking around, but we have a conference room that we've outfitted with one of the Samsung Flip TVs and audio as well in there. And that, again, was an experience thing that we thought. We have a lot of customers, and I'm sure a lot of other integrators do as well, that run businesses that are, or they're working out of their home offices, or they're doctors, and they need to have a way of communicating with customers, and they see, or clients, and they see these things on TV, or they know that they're out there. They know they're possible, but they haven't actually worked with them. The Flip TV is super cool. We make almost no money on the thing, but the presentations are really professional with them. You can mark up right on the screen. You can email this stuff off. The other day, we had a client who was so comfortable, as we're doing the presentation, he gets up and takes the pen and he's like marking stuff on the drawing. It was really cool. So we use that a lot, really to kind of differentiate, as well as we have a customer that bought 4 of them to do in their office space, because they thought, wow, this is really cool. Like, we need this in our office space. So we have a conference room. We do the cool little bathroom where we do a Siro lighted mirror, and we have a little kitchen area as well that we show. The kitchen's really small. It's understated, unlike a lot of the showrooms that I went and saw around the country, which are incredible, gorgeous, beautiful. We just didn't want to accentuate the kitchen stuff. So we show lighting and audio and a touch panel and all that kind of stuff. We show various levels, not to belabor the lighting point, but we show the toe kick lighting and under cabinet and under counter and over the cornice molding and all that kind of stuff. So again, just showing possibilities. We also do a lot of automation So we were talking about scenes a little while ago,
Mm-hmm.
and in the kitchen we actually have we'll show a scene where at my house we're Italian and we cook and we sing and we get loud, and so my wife likes sort of classic Italian music. So we have a button in there where it'll in the cooking scene it will actually play Italian music like loud, and you get the kind of the gist of the idea.
Yeah.
So just to, again, showing possibilities for folks. We have a dual theater. Our theater is there's an 85-inch television with a theory surround system, and then a button press drops a projector, drops a screen, and has the full complement of the Origin masterpiece theater. So it's pretty awesome. And then we have a full shade room as well as the podcast room. So I'm in the podcast room now. This was a really small room, and originally it was going to be like a mini theater. It was too small. We were trying to do 2-channel in here, too small. We were going to do a racing simulator. That was really cool. But when we got into talking about podcasting, and we thought this would really be a cool space where we could highlight our customers' businesses as well as technologies and stuff. So we've sort of done that. And then we have a full shade room as well. So people can come in, and we have a full complement of Lutron and Hunter Douglas, all the different styles they have, all the books. And there's an amazing amount of books. I don't know how we have that many. There's so many books. We've got a lot of books. And then an office space in the back. So we actually have 2 buildings. There's this, which we've been talking about. We also have another 2,800 square feet that is a warehouse, engineering room, and full service department, because we have our own service team as well.
Oh, nice. So do you do service plans as well?
We do.
Oh, that's really progressive. It's been something everyone's talked about how important it is, and so few companies seem to really implement it. So how's that? How long have you been doing that?
Service, we consider ourselves a service company, period.
Okay.
We're not an audio video company. We're not an AV integrator. We're not a lighting design company. We're a service company. That is first and foremost. And we've been doing that for about 3.5 to 4 years now. We started with one of the larger companies where we were we outsourced the support for them, and we had some success with that.
Okay.
But it really didn't work for us. And I had one of their principals was in our office one time, and he said, are you willing to pay somebody to sit here during the day to be able to provide same or next day service? And I just had this light bulb moment. I said, you know what? I am. So we've actually structured our service memberships and our service department in a way that we do it all ourselves internally. We stole best practices and ideas and from various folks. And we have a system that is nothing incredibly fancy, but it's worked for 3 years, knock on wood. We're in the 6 figures in service contracts. Great. And we can respond same or next day for the folks that are paying for it. So, and it's certainly not without challenges.
Yeah,
it definitely has challenges, but we've worked it out so that our team makes extra money. We have people on call on the weekends and that kind of thing. And we've worked out ways that we can incentivize our team to maybe not necessarily be in love with the idea of being on call, but they're incentivized enough that it's not an awful thing.
Right.
So
good for you. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment and so important, I think, to keeping clients satisfied and creating recurring revenue and making your business more valuable for when
Absolutely.
the time comes for you to hand off to somebody or retire, So,
and I do want to call out very, very little of this is coming out of my brain. Like I'm the guy that's the dumbest guy in the room. Michelle Ferlato, who does our marketing, has really done the vast majority of the service membership back work and all the legwork. And the design in here, Zach Simpson, our lead designer, has done an enormous amount of work inside the Experience Center. So most of that credit goes to them. I'm just the guy talking.
Yeah, well, maybe we should have had them on the podcast instead.
I agree. Oh my God. And they're better looking too.
Yeah.
So
So I do like to go back in time a little bit with my podcast guests when I'm having them on for the first time and talk about kind of as you're a kid, what your interests were. It looks like from my little bit of research that you're into sports quite a bit growing up.
I am, yeah.
And did you ever anticipate you'd be working in tech or consumer electronics when you were a kid?
Yes. We don't have enough time for the whole story because I could go on and on. But I was the kid that couldn't stand the flashing 12 on the VCR. And
okay.
My dad, the very quick story, my dad was an executive for Xerox. And it was when the Memoriter typewriter came out. The Memoriter was the very first typewriter that had a memory in it, had a little kind of like a one-line word processor thing. You could type about 12 or 16 characters or something and erase before it printed. And he was supposed to give a sales training to some sales folks, and he had no idea how to work it. My dad loved tech, but he just couldn't get it to work. And so I'm like 10 or 12, and after dinner one night, I go down to my sister's room. The thing's sitting there, and I'm playing with it. My dad comes downstairs. He's furious because he's thinking his 10-year-old kid is, breaking this $1,000 typewriter at the time. And then he realizes I know how to use it. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And I'm like, oh, Dad, this is amazing. Look at this thing. So basically the sales training was based on a 10-year-old kid's, So yeah, I got into car stereo right out of college or right out of high school, excuse me. I actually, in my high school annual book that you write, where you're going to be and all this stuff, I had wrote this in there and I didn't see it until 10 years later. I found the book when I was moving one time, and I had written down in the book that I wanted to be working as a rep or product specialist for a company like Kenwood. And I was. I was actually working as a rep for Kenwood when I read that, and I had not seen it for at least 5, 7, 8 years. It was really powerful, and it really kind of crystallized in my head what you can do if you put your mind to something.
Yeah, it's like your own version of a vision board or something. Right?
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. Yeah. So I do that a lot now. I have a vision board a lot now. So
that's awesome. So as you went through owning your own business, you said you had a snag there along the way and lost a business at some point.
I did. So my first company was in this industry. I started in '98, and I basically saw an infomercial at night on TV, and it was talking about how you could save money doing whatever you loved by creating a business and then just doing that. And then you would, you could write off expenses and all this stuff. I didn't know what any of that was. So I did it. I just opened a business, and I liked AV. I was working for a home builder in the Charlotte metro area, and they were having problems in their model homes, just putting audio in. They couldn't find anybody that was reliable. So I said, oh, I'll do it. So I started doing that, and it immediately took off. I was a big builder, and there was just a lot of work. So kind of fast forward 10 years to '08, I had built the first company up to about just a little under 2 million, and we had about 15 people. And I'm a finance major, so I understand numbers and I like numbers. But when '08 happened, I was in this growth mode, and I kept thinking, hey, I can just sell more. And I was a classic entrepreneur wearing all the hats. I was doing everything and thought, oh, well, no one can do it as well as me. And, I've got to be in control of everything. Blah, blah, blah. And eventually I couldn't. And I had I was leveraged very, very heavily. And so kind of went through a lot of hardship. I had some personal stuff going on at the time too, that was not good, and ended up losing the company. And essentially lost everything. So at the age of 40, I told you I started this company in 2010. This was in 2008. And I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. I was at the bottom back of this apartment complex because I was so ashamed and humbled that I'd screwed up. My dad had died, and it was very, very humbling and very just an awful, really low point. And I thought I'm pretty faith-filled, And so I thought, why is this happening to me and whatnot? And I found that over the years, so I started back up in 2010, and we basically did we're in the same industry, but we're doing everything differently. I wear almost, well, I shouldn't say I don't wear any hats, but I have folks that are so talented and so passionate about what they do. We talk about being in the right seat on the bus all the time.
Yeah.
And now we're not leveraged at all. We have almost no debt. I tell my sons all the time, when I first started, when I was growing up, I was thinking, how does anybody, afford an automobile without a car payment? Like, I just didn't even understand that.
Yeah.
Now we have 10 vehicles and they're all paid off. And
Wow.
I don't understand how, like, you have a car payment now. So it's just a different mindset. But I love to share the story now, because there's so many folks that are out there, and I think especially entrepreneurs that feel like if they fail, it's the end of the world.
Right.
And I would say that certainly not all, but there's a lot of them that do, that don't make it on their first business, and it's not because they're not smart, and it's not because they're not motivated or passionate or don't work hard. Sometimes things just happen. And
2008
it is such
was
a great
tough.
learning experience. Yeah, it was. It really was. And no one expected it. I mean, it's not COVID, but nobody expected that at the time, or certainly weren't. I don't want to say nobody. I was not prepared for it. And so, but it's really taught me a lot of lessons. And so now I like to share that with others and let them know that, hey, if you're struggling, or if if you fail, it's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. So
well, I couldn't make it to ProSource. I went to the Azione Unlimited Conference, another buying group, this past week.
Oh, sure.
And had a lot of conversations with folks. And it always kind of comes back to some of those same messages about people just being too into their role in the company and not being able to kind of keep an eye on the whole thing, like you were just describing. And it goes back to that book where, the E-Myth, that we're working on your business, not in your business.
Oh, yeah.
But, something just popped into my head, which I'm sure was revolutionary, but I realized so many of the folks who have been told for all the years that we've known about this E-Myth book, you should be working on your business, not in the business. They are like kind of the rainmaker of their company. They're like the lead sales guy. And taking them out of that role is going to be a hard adjustment for that company. And I thought, what if the idea is to hire the person that's going to work on your business, as opposed to you being the guy that does it? Because maybe that's not what you're good at. You're not the business. You have a finance degree. You actually can step into that role and understand the numbers and all that. But some folks, maybe it's better that they're the, I don't know what that is, the head of sales, but they're also the owner. I don't know if that's odd or not, but
no, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. I was actually counseling a younger business owner that was just starting to hire their first person recently, and it's like, who do I hire? Like, he was really scared about it. And it's kind of funny now after you hire tons of people. It's just funny to think of the first one, but that's exactly right. Like, whatever you're good at, if you're good at sales, and you are right, a lot of companies in our industry started with someone that's really good at sales. They're really that type A personality. They're out there, and they're passionate about the business, but they don't know business. Mm-hmm. So in that case, that's the last person they hire. The last person they hire is another salesperson. Yeah, they want to get the whether it's a finance person, bookkeeper, controller, CFO, whatever level you need, or maybe it's an operations person, or maybe it's just simply like a warehouse person that can manage like ordering and checking stuff in and getting, maybe it's an installer, programmer, whatever. For me, it's exactly what you said. The last person I hired was our controller, because I did the finances until about 8 months ago. That was the last hat that I had on every day. Was the finance hat. The first one I took off was sales, because I met Zach, and he's better at me. He's better at it than me.
Right.
I can do it, but it's not my passion. He's incredible at it. So give it to him and get the heck out of his way. Just support him. right? And then move on to the next thing.
Right. Well, kudos to you for bouncing back after that first 2008 situation. Like that had to just really been a low point, depressing point, and then just to lick your wounds and say, okay, now let's do this the right way.
Yeah.
And to
And
learn.
it wasn't without a lot of support from family and friends. It takes a village, as I know you know, and with kids and with with your friends too. So,
sure. Well,
yeah.
So here's a question for you: the current situation that we're in. I also had conversations at ASEAN about this, where things are really good in the business. Obviously, supply chain makes things a little more difficult, but business is good. Prices are high. It's everything's expensive right now, but you're making money, and what goes up must come down. There's always going to be that downswing. So, what kind of thoughts go through your head having gone through 2008? However many years ahead that kind of situation might be, it's going to happen, I'm sure. What do you do to prepare for that? Do you diversify somehow? What kind of makes you feel like you can sleep at night because okay, we're prepared. We've done this before. We're not going to let it happen to us again.
I'm never 100% confident that we're prepared, because I certainly wasn't ready for '08. I certainly wasn't ready to when COVID happened. Fortunately, when COVID happened, I had taken some of the hats off, so I was able to come in at 5 a.m. and read the documents on the PPP loans and and all that stuff. That's talk about working on your business instead of in it, right? That was huge. But to your point, there's a book that I would recommend to any small business owner. It's called Profit First. It's a guy named Mike Michalowicz. If you've never heard it, it kind of flips the profit and loss statement on its head, and it's nothing revolutionary. It's a way of managing money that's very easy, especially for somebody that's not a money person. Gives you very concrete and direct things to do. Little plug for Mike, but. So yes, I believe in emergency funds for emergency funds for emergency funds. So we've made money over the last year. We haven't spent it all. We've invested it. We've done some different. We purchased this building, so we actually own the building. So we're renting it back basically. But we've diversified into different categories, which kind of goes back to our previous conversation. Back in '08, it was pretty much AV. Network was big, but not enormous at the time. Now we're doing a lot of commercial grade networks. We're a full security company. We've talked about shades and not only lighting control, but lighting design. We do service. We've talked to smaller integrators that we're friends with, that we've subcontracted with, that say, look, if you need help with service, like, you can contract it out from us. Now, we haven't actually done it yet. It's just a pie in the sky sort of idea, but we've talked about it. So we're constantly looking for opportunities to diversify, but diversify under things that we know, as opposed to going out and trying to do something else that we don't know.
Yeah. What about commercial? Do you do much of that besides you mentioned commercial level networks, but do you do commercial installations as well?
We do, and there's a number of dealers that do it a lot better than us. I've got Sean Hansen out in Colorado is just phenomenal at it, and Aaron down at Fusion in Greenville is great at it too. And they've both been helping us to improve how we do business commercially, because there is a whole nother diversifying. There's a whole nother business model out there commercially. So we do a fair amount of commercial. The jobs have been large, but they've been less frequent. And so we're trying to make them more frequent. A lot of people say, like, how much do your business is commercial versus residential? And I always say, well, it depends on if you're talking about dollar volume or if you're talking about number of jobs, because it's two different metrics, really. So we certainly need to improve it, but we're aiming at it.
Yeah, that's always, it seems like those two, I don't know if they necessarily always are booming at the same time, but they sort of work as a seesaw back and forth. One goes up, one comes down, and it's it's good to be able to switch if you have to into those areas.
I think you're right.
The last kind of area that I want to touch on, because we've been on for a while, and I want to make sure you have time for your rest of your life there.
Sure.
Is I heard another interview with you where you were talking about how important it is to have a written process for your company, and that's another one. It's like it's one of those business boring topics, but it's so important, and so few companies really have that. And we even talked at this conference that I was attending about how bad shadowing is for new employees. You can't just learn from bad habits, and the boss may not even know what you're teaching the person, but to have a process that is proven and updated and all of that. So what can you tell us about how important that is for your business?
Man, I am so glad you brought that up. That's one of our core values. We have 5 core values, and being process oriented is one of them. What we say is, if it's something that somebody feels either internally or externally, customer focusing or personnel focusing, there needs to be a written process for it. And so we've had a process manual that we've been working on for probably 5 or 6 years now. And we have processes for everything. And at first it seems like it's constraining. It seems like it's boxing people in. And that's immediately folks kind of tend to think negatively. I think of it more as being freeing. I think of it is saying, hey, it's not about the person, it's about the process. And so the way we vet it, it's kind of funny. My boys, I said back when we were in the little house and we had the garage was the warehouse, my boys were 14 at the time, kind of like your girl's age. Mm-hmm. And they were learning how to check in stuff and what a purchase order was, and they would stage stuff. So we wrote the process. And so our ever since then, it's been, if you can hand a piece of paper to a 14-year-old and they can read it and they don't have to ask a question and they can complete it, the process is done. But if they have to ask a question, the process isn't done. And so that's been the way that we've vetted almost everything that we do. It's got to be written like first grade level crayon, not because someone's not smart, because you're interjecting someone into something that they've never done before, or they haven't done it the way you want it done. When it's in your head, you're the linchpin. Like, you got to be involved. Get it out of your head, and then you're freed, and they're free to do stuff. Another thing that we found is, I've had this conversation numerous times where people, as they're writing the process, think that they're doing that so that you can replace them. Ooh. As an employee, they think they're writing themselves out of a job so you can hire somebody for less money or less experienced or whatever. And at first, it never even dawned on me. And now it's happened numerous times. And I've sat the folks down and I've said, you know what? I need you to free up stuff that anybody can do so that you can do only the stuff that you can do. So I need you to be able to think on your little section of the business. I need you to be able to if it's billing, hey, my son's doing the billing right now. He's the one entering the bills. It's data entry in QuickBooks. Like, anybody can type, right? So I need you like dissecting the P&L and where can we save money, or where, what product is more profitable than others. Like, he can't do that. Both of you can do the bills, but only you can do this. So that way we can elevate people into other jobs.
That's great.
Process is huge.
And I can't not ask about these sons of yours who you said are all very close in age. You must have a couple of twins in there.
I have twins. They actually turned 19 yesterday.
Okay.
We were down in Atlanta yesterday. So I have a 19 that's going to be 20, 2 19s, and a 17 that's going to be 18.
Okay, great. Well, so it seems like you're teaching a lot of valuable lessons to these guys. Do you think they want to go into this business at some point, or is this just a stepping stone?
Well, I don't think so. One of them, my oldest, works in the warehouse a couple days a week. My second oldest is actually going to do an internship this summer with us. But I think they have different paths, which is fine.
Yeah, but this is a great experience for them to be able to work for a family business for a while. Good stories for them, good lessons. Well, Mark, I really appreciate your time. We went over what I expected to talk about. I enjoyed listening to your stories and your insight, and I hope it's a great 2022 for you the rest of the way.
Again, I can't thank you enough, Jeremy. This has been awesome. We had not met before, but it's really been fun, and just appreciate the time, and thank you.
Mark DiPietro is CEO and managing partner at SoundVision in Mooresville, North Carolina. You can learn more about his company at svavnc.com. And that wraps up today's show. If you're new to Residential Tech Talks, please subscribe to the weekly podcast on your preferred platform and consider rating and review. It's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, check out all the latest residential tech news at the magazine's website, restechtoday.com, where you can also subscribe to our bi-monthly print or digital magazine and to our Tuesday and Friday email newsletters. Until next time, please stay safe, stay inspired, and let us know if you have a great story to tell.
Residential Tech Talk, lighting specialist to Residential Tech Talk.